How's it going? It has been a little while since Night Productions has done any sort of gear review over what us guys are using for like daily video creation or anything of the sort. But as we've probably mentioned in some earlier videos this year, we made an upgrade this year, and that upgrade was the Canon EOS R5. And you know, I'm gonna cut straight to the point here. I love it. It is it's a really good camera, and that shouldn't surprise anybody, especially anyone who's ever used Canon equipment before. As you know, Nathan rocks the EOS R, and then I rocked the EOS R6, which is shooting this video right now, for a very, very long time. So here we have the EOS R5. We say it a lot about a lot of the equipment we use, but it does everything I need it to do. And I think that's kind of a trend for what we need here at Night Productions, is we only use equipment that does everything we need it to do, and it needs to do it really, really well. You know, so not only does it kind of do everything I need it in the video aspect of things, in the photo aspects of things, you know, it does more than what the R6 was doing for me in that realm. So that's a nice thing. And I have the specs right here. We can kind of touch on the specs very quickly. So yeah, it's got a 45 megapixel full frame sensor, which I mean is more than double megapixels compared to what the R6 was running. The R6 had a 20 megapixel sensor. If you know anything about Canon, it's an incredible processor. The image quality you get out of this camera, it's really just side by side with something, you can just tell a difference. You can just tell the sharpness and the clarity of the image is just there. And I'm gonna show a few examples of some stuff I've shot with the R5 already. It does have 8K and it does do 4K 120, which is also an upgrade from the R6. And on top of all that, it does 8-bit, or excuse me, no, it does 10-bit. It does 10-bit video, which is even more impressive if you are going to be editing the video and trying to get the most out of your footage. It's got the 5-axis image stabilization, which is IBIS, which IBIS was dealing with a lot of issues early in the release cycle of the R5 and R6, because it had a few flaws with the wobble in the corners. So if you were looking at the corners of the image, you could see some really bad like warping, and a lot of creators were kind of upset with that, especially when you're paying as much as you paid for a camera like this. Image stabilization is kind of becoming more and more of just a common thing, and whenever it doesn't do what is expected, there's reason for it to be upset. Along with that, you had people who were complaining about the overheating issue, which I can tell you from personal experience, extensive shooting. I've done a handful of weddings with it already. I have not experienced overheating. I've shot in 4K 120, I shoot in 4K 60, I shoot extensive shoots in 120, no overheating issue, none whatsoever. And a lot of that has to do with the firmware updates that Canon has released over the release cycle of the camera. The camera came out in 2020. So yeah, Night Productions is late to the game a little bit when it comes to the R5, but I think it's more so a testament to what the R5 is capable of, that it's still, this is the best Canon Night Productions has. And the fact that it's 3 years old and you can still say that about a piece of equipment is speaking volumes to what Canon has with their R5. So yeah, like I said, the firmware updates have done wonders for the wobble whenever you're using the IBIS, and the firmware updates have also all but, in my experience, I can't speak to you know, what other people have experienced with the camera, but I, upon extensive shooting, have not experienced any overheating. In fact, even with the R6, which R6 was said to have a lot of overheating issues, I only experienced overheating with the R6 once. And I mean, I put that camera through a lot. The firmware updates have all but eliminated the overheating issue.
Every camera I've ever had has overheated at least once in the broad summer, and we weren't outside all day.
Yeah. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. I'm sure I'll talk about it again. The subject tracking and just like the autofocus, I mean, you'll have anybody, I know I'm probably lean more Canon, but you can talk to anybody. You can talk to Sony users, you can talk to Nikon users. There's nobody that does autofocus like Canon. So that's super, super nice. We did have to make the switch. One of the things we had to upgrade when doing the move from the R6 to the R5 being the primary shooter, we had to switch to the CF Express cards. So my experience with those so far has been, again, a positive, like a net positive for sure. The transferring of those, I move an entire wedding over in it's probably under 5 minutes. And that's like, that in itself is really, really impressive because with the SD cards, moving a wedding from an SD card to your SSD can take anywhere from like 11 to 15 minutes. So the CF Express cards are really, really just efficient when it comes to moving storage and stuff like that. So that's also been a positive, and I've really enjoyed that upgrade so far. Moving on, let's see if I can wrap up the specs here. It does have issues when it comes to editing. That's a big thing that I was worried about whenever I made the upgrade. And it is a little bit of a thing that I'm dealing with editing with the camera. The files are so much bigger than the R6 files. Granted, you know, that could probably be solved with like an upgrade to my computer. But you know, I have the last MacBook Pro 16-inch that they made right before the M1 chips got released and everything like that. So needless to say, before the M1 chips were released, that MacBook Pro was the best MacBook Pro that they've ever made. And it's just now starting to finally show its age when it comes to these files. I'm making do. I'm not having any huge issues with it just yet. But I could see that problem being solved with like an upgrade to like Apple Silicon, and whenever that bridge is crossed, again, I'm sure that's another thing I can revisit when that day comes. So, moving on, and you know, like I said, just an overall experience with the R5 thus far. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a good upgrade, and it's been everything that we needed it to be, and it was everything that we were hoping it would be when investing how much we invested into it. We waited a long time to pull the trigger, but when we finally did, you know, I think I speak for the team. We don't regret it, right? Alex gave me a nope. The man who bought it didn't give me a nope, so I wonder if maybe he has some regrets, but
it's expensive.
It is an expensive purchase, but I think it's already paid itself off. So, it's one of those things where I'm super, super excited to see what else we can get out of it going forward. Like I said, we had it for a short time, but you know, if I'm already speaking this positively about it within the short time that we've had it, I know that it's gonna kind of hold up to the test of time. So, like I said, I'm gonna show a few examples and everything like that of stuff we've shot with it, but an overwhelming yes for me. I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah, it is the upgrade to the R6 that we were hoping it would be. So yeah, that is how Caden, feel about the Canon R5 so far.
What do you give it out of 10?
I don't know. I don't think I gave the R6 anything out of 10. If I were gonna give the R6 something out of 10, I'd probably give the R6 out of 10. I'd give the R6 like a 7.7 out of 10. And then the R5, I think I would give the R5, I'd give the R5 a 9.2. But yeah, that's the R5. Thanks for watching. We post new videos every Thursday at 6:30. The video we've been waiting to post, I didn't want to jump the gun on the R5 before I kind of had some experience with it. So now that I've done a few weddings with it and I've done some senior sessions with it, I can feel like I can speak confidently about it. And it's been doing great. So, but that's this week's video. Hope you like it. If you guys want to see something about some of the other equipment we've been shooting on upgrade wise, Nathan's been shooting with his new prime lens. He's been enjoying that quite a bit. Maybe we get him on here and see what he thinks about the switch from a a telephoto lens to a prime lens. So, but other than that, guys, like I said, thank you for tuning in. We post new videos every Thursday, and I think we have some pretty exciting ideas coming up, and I'm really excited to see how we execute those. That's pretty much it. You guys, don't roast my haircut either. I got a new haircut, and I didn't try to fix my hair before I got up here, so I don't know what it looks like.